Hey sixth graders, so today we are going to keep working on DFP, but we are going to work with visuals, and visuals are like pictures. So before we do that, let's quickly recap filling in our actual DFP. Hopefully we're starting to remember this by now. So DFP, again, it has to go in that order. From a decimal to a percent, we take our decimal and go 2 hops backwards. From a percent to a fraction, we remember percent goes over 100. And then from a fraction to a decimal, we need to cowboy and horse divide. So again, hopefully we are starting to remember those things. So let's go on the inside and actually see some problems. So the first question we're going to look at is what decimal is represented by the shaded pieces of the grid below. So the first thing I need to point out or highlight is the fact that it says shaded, okay, and it wants a decimal. So I have a picture and I need to know that if I have a picture, I cannot go straight to a decimal. If we have a picture, we are going to write a fraction. And we need to know this. Pictures equal fractions. And when I write a fraction, my shaded is going to be the top number, my numerator, and then my total is going to be the total number of pieces. So let's go over here and let's count our pieces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if there is 8 here, that means 2 rows would be 16, 24, because I'm counting by 8s, and then I can go 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. So I have 32 shaded, and then I can go back and finish counting. So now I'm going to label the top 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56, 64. So my total would be 64. So that's another reason why it's good to know our numbers. So now I need to use DFP and I need to turn that fraction into a decimal. So DFP, I want to turn a fraction into a decimal, so I need to cowboy and horse. Remember, we only have to fill in the part that we need. So fraction to a decimal, I need a cowboy and horse. So 32 would go inside, 64 outside, boots, hat, 2 donuts, and then I need 4 dinner plates. And then now we would need to write out our 64s. So if you do not know your 64s, which most of us don't, we would obviously start with 64 and then we would go to the side and just start adding to make our list. So the next number would be 128 and then we would just keep adding. Okay, I already made the list for you, so you're welcome. So let's go ahead and write our list out here. And I'm not even going to go all the way down because I can see that I need a 320, so I'm going to stop at 320. So let's go through our steps so that we get our decimal placement right. So can 64 people sit in 3 chairs? No. Can 64 people sit in 32 chairs? Also a no. 64 people can sit in 320. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. That gives me 320, and 320 minus 320 is 0. Bring down, finish filling in. So if this is my answer right now, hopefully we know we could technically get rid of that 0. I could also get rid of all my zeros, but I'm going to just stick with 0.50. And there are other ways we could write that. I also want to point out that 0.50 is half, which looks kind of weird because if we're looking at this picture, we did not have half per se. What they did is they took this section, and if it would have filled in this piece, we would have had half. So 0.50 is half of our shape. All right, number 2. This one wants what percent is represented by the unshaded. So we have to be careful because this one wants unshaded and it wants a percent. But again, we have a picture, so we need to start with our fraction. But on this fraction, our top numerator is going to be the unshaded. So they are trying to trick us here. So the unshaded in this picture would be white, the white pieces. And then total also would go on the bottom. So the unshaded would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 unshaded. And then the total would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 10 total. And then we can write our DFP to figure out what part of it we need. So I'm turning my fraction into a decimal, but I actually want a percent, so then I also have to turn into a percent. So I need a cowboy and horse, and then move my decimal 2 hops. So cowboy, horse, 4 goes inside, 10 goes out, boots, hat, 2 donuts, and then dinner plates. 10 does not go into 4. It goes into 40 4 times. That gives me my 40. Bring down. 10 does not go into 0. So there is my final decimal. So I have 0.40. And then we need to finish out and do those 2 hops. So 1, 2 brings my decimal to the back, which would be 40% for my final answer. All right, flip it over. So this one says what fraction and decimal are represented by the image shown. So this one doesn't say anything about shaded and unshaded, so I'm just going to assume shaded. So we have 1, 2, and that's going to help us on our fraction. My total would be 3, 4, 5, so 2 out of 5. So that's the fraction. To turn that into a decimal, DFP. To turn my fraction into a decimal, hopefully we're getting good at this, we need to cowboy and horse. 2 goes inside, 5 outside, boots, hat, donuts, dinner plates. All right, 5 people cannot sit in 2 chairs. They can sit in 20 chairs 4 times. That gives me 20 and a 0. So 2/5 and make my little and sign 0.40 because it wanted both. All right, number 4. It says write out the fraction for the picture. So fraction should be pretty easy. 1, 2, top number, and then total 3, 4, 5, 6. And it didn't ask for anything crazy. That is my answer. I'm done. That one's easy. It's going to help us on number 5. All right, so number 5, the number line below represents which of the following? So this looks kind of crazy, but I want to show you how to make this number line look like this really easy problem that we just did. So first thing we're going to do is we are going to start at the 0 and we are going to draw a line at the 0. And then we're going to go to the other end where it has a 1 and we're going to draw a line. And then we are going to X out the ends because we do not include the ends. We only go from 0 to 1. And what I'm going to do is I am going to connect the top and the bottom and make this a rectangle. So hopefully you see how this is already starting to look like this one up here. So to make my lines, I am going to draw a line wherever the tick marks are on my number line. Okay? Now, I do want to point out, notice how these are all small, but then this one's really big. That's because that dot is covering up one of those tick marks. So that is also a tick mark. So now it's looking even closer to this one up here. And the big thing that we need to do now is we need to pay attention to where that dot is. So we are going to shade to the dot. So that means when I shade, I need to make it kind of so I can still count. Do not shade to where you can't see. So if I shade to that dot, that means I need to shade 2 pieces. So my fraction would be 2, and then I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 total. That is 2 over 8. Hopefully we realize that A, 0.28, that is a Joe. 2 eighths is not 0.28. No, not at all. So now, if we were looking from 2 eighths to B, or 2 eighths to 1/4, we would have to simplify and see if we get either of those. So let's go ahead and do that, and maybe that'll work. What can I simplify 2 eighths by? 2. Good. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. So that right there would be my answer. Now, if that was not, you could then cowboy and horse, turn that into a decimal, and then do 2 hops to turn it into a percent to see if D worked. But we already have our answer C, so we are done. So just remember, anytime we have any kind of picture, we need to start with a fraction.